Duchild.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, as far as negotiating, I think the ball's in Pulaski's court on that one. I mean, we told them no to their first their offer. They have not come back, even seeing the resistance with any counteroffers, which tells me they don't want to negotiate. Secondly, and something that I favor is to assign, and obviously this is a legal question we need answered, but assign our votes to vote to take the 1% tax down to 0 for the time being. And the other thing I would be in favor of is the board sending a letter to Pulaski Bank asking to withdraw the SID entirely. But back to the second point, which is the voting, having our members of the board, the SID board, vote to eliminate the tax. I would like a closed session if Mr. Goldschmidt, that's his proposal, to get that legal question answered. If we can do that, I would be in favor of that, and I will make a motion right now to have a closed session at the first meeting in January.
Well, you don't even need that. We already said we will have a closed session. It's called closed session.
Are you calling it?
I'm calling.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
Let's avoid litigation, because that's where this is headed. Rob suggested it. There's no clear answer to this question. The clear answer is to negotiate a palatable agreement. And I've said it time and time again, we're willing to do it. And I really take exception and am insulted by Alderman Duchild's suggestion that we haven't been willing to do that. My goodness, that is absolutely wrong. Eminent domain, I'll sit down and negotiate that away in a heartbeat. I'll even talk about lowering the $2.5 million because it's not a reasonable figure at this point. There's got to be some, quantitative figure that can be calculated that makes sense at this point. I don't know what it is, but we're willing to negotiate it. But it's incredibly frustrating to hear things like Alderman Duchild suggested that the Pulaski Bank hasn't been willing to negotiate. I mean, it's just absolutely not true. I mean, I don't know, I'm getting a little worked up here, but have I answered your question, Alderman Schleich?
No, actually.
Based on what I'm hearing here, I think the ad hoc committee, once again, needs to get back together again, and this time, I think this board should direct that the Pulaski Bank and the council and our own council be at those meetings and talk about these things. I mean, what we're doing is there's no reason that you all ought to be arguing with each other.
No.
You ought to be sitting down and talking, and that's the reason we appointed that ad hoc committee in the beginning, was to try to work out something so we wouldn't have this. So I'm going to ask that that ad hoc committee once again return, this time with the understanding that we're going to sit down and work something out that is sort of like what they say up in Congress. You may not like it, but you're going to try to work out something that is good for the people and something that can be agreed upon. So I think it can be done.
More than willing to sit down and do it. I mean,
and if council hasn't been there and you all haven't been involved, there's no way they know whether or not you can do it. So, do we need a motion from the board to direct that?
Should I finish asking my questions before?
Sure.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I just so my question. So back to the kind of the hypothetical you gave, which goes back really to the question that I had, was hypothetically, if you have $50,000 worth of receipts and the SID collects $100,000, based off of what was been said already.
Wait a second. If we have $50,000 of expenses, okay.
But yet the SID collected $100,000 in taxes.
Right.
Under your example, you then would receive $100,000.
No.
But what I was asking was, because you said you wanted to work out a formula as to what that new dollar amount would be. To me, it would be the receipts that somebody has in a folder. That would be the maximum dollar amount, because you said that you were only interested in recouping the dollars that were spent specific to.
We've already spent in excess based on the preliminary figures that I've seen, Jeff, we have already expended in excess of $2.5 million of the allowable, what we could ask for reimbursement of. Well, that's already been, that's, when I say we've spent it, we've loaned it out, the developer spent it. We can, my preliminary understanding in talking to the loan doc guys at Pulaski today, because I wanted to try to have them put together a list of, an itemized list of what would be in our reimbursable certificate request. And that, at least preliminarily, my understanding is that is $2.5 million plus dollars. But the point I make is we can submit that
Right.
as to buttress our argument that that we get the money.
Because more than likely, the dollars that are received, to your point, the point that you're making is your dollars that are going to be received by the SID district will never
No, they'll never get to
equal that amount of
No.
money.
Not based upon, even if we figure at this point, Jeff, we figure we fill it up
Right.
tomorrow with retail, which we hope we do. We're never going to get to $2.5 million before the SID district terms.
Agreed.
So whatever we can, figure out from a mathematical perspective that would make sense, that we think we can recover, if it's psychologically more palatable to put that ceiling in there, we're willing to at least discuss it.
Right. So in other words, said a different way, from a completely different angle, based off of earlier comments as well, I mean, the bank's objective is to fill it and sell it.
Absolutely.
So if that happened in a very short period of time, the bank would never realize, even if it was a phenomenal taxing district, you would never see that $2.5 million from the SID district.
No, the new developer would.
The new developer would.
Right.
The money that you would see would be from the sale of that property.
Absolutely, and you're really getting to the heart of the argument. What the SID does, and I've said it from day one, and our lending agency our leasing agency is supportive of this. Don Meyer, who's been in direct contact with many of our potential tenants. What the SID does, it provides us with the ability to induce tenants on a retail basis to locate there, because we can induce them with lower rents and so forth and so on. Honestly, what this has turned into, Pulaski Pulaski Bank, over the last 6 months, what's evolved is we've become the bad guy in this. I don't even want to be here. I don't want to be in front of this board talking about the SID district. If I didn't think the SID district could help us fill that center with tenants, I wouldn't waste my time or your time with this, or my client's money, being up here requesting it. The reason I'm up here is because it will help. It will definitely help. And all we want to do is try to work something out. But it will definitely help get the place leased up. I mean, if it really didn't make any difference, because all that matters to us, Jeff, is if we get it leased up, and you know this probably from a business perspective, we're going to get it sold. It doesn't make any difference how we get it leased up. We just need to get it leased up.
I agree, and I think that the part that really hasn't been talked about is that, from that $2.5 million, it could be implied or inferred that the selling price would then have some sort of, it would be somehow impacted by those SID dollars.
Well, indirectly, I guess, in the sense
Right, and I don't think we really, because you've talked about the lease payments being affected by the SID dollars. But the reality is that if the market is bearing $14 a square foot for sale of that property, you're going to sell it for, Pulaski Bank is going to sell it for $14 a square foot for that property. You're not going to reduce that sale price. So really that dollar amount that we're talking about is really not, the subject is not from a leasing perspective. That money would be recouped in the proper environment from the sale of that property, from the appreciation.
I mean,
One could make that hypothetically, one could easily make that argument.
Yeah, I mean, hypothetically, yeah. I mean, there's a number of different, sale model approaches you could.
Mr. King, you've accused this board, or at least Alderman Duchild, of being unwilling to negotiate. I have a question for you, sir. Are you willing to negotiate the rate, the CID sales tax rate?
I'm not willing to negotiate anything specific right now. What I said was,
I would,
I
I
am
could
willing
ask
to-
you if that is
I am
on
not-
the table.
I am not going to sit here and negotiate specific terms of a development agreement in an open meeting.
Is that a negotiable item?
Alderman Miguel, that is inappropriate. What I said to Alderman Duchild was simply this. He suggested that we have been unwilling to negotiate because we didn't come back with any suggestions. You
Mr.
asked me a
King,
question.
I
You
just
me
asked you a question. It was a yes or
You asked me
no.
a question, let me finish.
It's a yes
Let
or
me
no
finish. You
question.
asked me a question.
All right, all
What-
right, all
What I
right.
said.
Your Honor.
Hold it.
Your Honor,
Hold it. You finish.
What I,
Come back.
thank you, Mayor. What I said is I said many times we're willing to sit down and negotiate with the SID district, the city attorney, and the city administrator. This board called a meeting of an ad hoc committee, and I was told at that open meeting that we would be called and get together to meet. I followed up several times. When are we meeting? When are we meeting? When are we meeting? Guess what, Alderman Miguel? The meeting never took place. Why? I'll turn it on you. Why?
are you done, sir?
Yeah, why?
My question is, are you willing to negotiate?
I am willing to
the rate?
negotiate the development agreement.
Are you willing?
I'm not going to answer specific
negotiate?
questions.
That's fine.
I'm not going to answer specific questions.
That's fine. Take your seat then, if you will. I'll continue my comments, but you may resume
You may
your seat.
rest.
I think it's pretty obvious that the face amount of the CID is irrelevant. It's totally irrelevant. The development going on in that project in Sappington Square would not support a $500,000 CID. So for council to offer to come down and magnanimously propose that we can reduce the CID to $1 million is irrelevant. What is relevant is whether the bank is willing to negotiate the term of the loan, the number of years, or the CID tax rate itself. Those are the two factors that are relevant to this entire negotiation. Nothing else is really relevant. And Alderman Schlink put his point across quite well. What the CID tax is affects the resale value of the project, of the shopping center. And I guess and that's really, from my view of it, that is really the thing that this is all about. To continue, and I don't know if this last point has been made before, it probably has, but at any rate, to continue the tax at its current rate and its continued term is really rewarding a failed project. This project is delivering about 12% of what it was promised to do. To continue the tax under those circumstances is it's rewarding failure, and I don't think that's what this board is about. Thank you, Your Honor.
You bet.